EverWind has secured a $240 million strategic investment to support the delivery of the Point Tupper Green Fuels project from Nuveen Energy Infrastructure Credit. Here to tell us more about the deal and what it means for the company and the Nova Scotia clean energy sector is EverWind CEO Trent Vichie. Trent, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the project itself. There's two aspects to this. How will they unfold?
Yeah, so the first phase of the project is 650 megawatts of wind in Nova Scotia, and then the second part of it is a green hydrogen plant in Nova Scotia at our site.
And when has construction started? When will it start? And what is this money going to be doing for you?
This money is for the first phase of wind. So we've started pre-construction works already. These projects have been in development for the last 3.5 years. And so they will be starting construction in full swing at the end of 2026. We're just finalizing a few sort of interconnection and other contractual requirements, but it's well and truly underway. So we have 4 sites ready to go, and overall it's a $2 billion project. So we'll be kicking off a $2 billion investment later this year. But it's people are on the ground working to prep for that moment.
Trent, just curious, when this project is completed, and I'm assuming it's maybe towards the later side of this decade, where will that power be going? Is it going directly into the Nova Scotia market, or will some of it be going for export into the U.S.?
So it's the power will be going into the Nova Scotia market, so it's connected into the grid. Some excess power may actually leak into some of the surrounding Canadian provinces. And then once the plant is operational, that will then be used to produce hydrogen for both the domestic and international markets. The wind will start operation in 2028.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. And with the hydrogen, where will that be going? Do you have a market set up for it already?
Yeah, it's been set up under a support scheme in Europe.
Oh, sorry, I thought we cut out there. And also, you have Indigenous involvement in this. They're majority owners, the group?
Yeah, so Member 2 and 2 other bands are the majority owners of the wind project. So we've been working with those groups there since the inception of the projects, and they've been wonderful partners. So the project also represents a meaningful economic reconciliation. The project itself, as well, is it's a big jobs creation in the province. So about $1 billion of local contracts into the Nova Scotia market, which is is great, and to support the Nova Scotia economy. Then 100 jobs on an ongoing basis, and roughly $500 million of provincial and municipal tax benefits over the life of the project. But this is the first phase of the wind. With we have in addition another 2.5 gigawatts under development at the moment to expand out for later phases.
To my knowledge, there's not a ton of offshore wind development in the Atlantic off the east coast of North America. Just curious, any issues you're having there in terms of a new area, how the procurement of the turbines went, and that just sort of the operational side of the project?
Our project is onshore wind, and so the Nova Scotia market has meaningful onshore wind already in place, so that we're expanding upon that. And then in terms of the procurement, I would say some of the trade issues, or the wind market has been a lot softer south of the border, and so there's a greater opportunity for us to procure wind equipment and turbines in this market. We're one of the few markets that are open here in North America right now, so we're getting a lot of attention from that front.
And with what got Nuveen into this? I mean, they're a massive company. What got them into join you on this one?
So I've had about a 20-year relationship with Nuveen. So I co-founded Stone Peak before doing this, and Nuveen was the anchor investor for that. So I've known the team over there for 20 years. They're a big player in the energy infrastructure space, and they have been for some time. And so the fund that the capital came from is anchored by large Canadian pension funds as well. So there was a good marriage on that side of the equation, having Canadian pension funds investing infrastructure in Canada. But it was a very deep relationship, and also just the state of readiness of our project. There's a lot of institutional capital, but the risks need to be taken off the table, and the project needs to be developed. And so we've spent the last 3.5 years bringing the project up to a state where institutional capital like Nuveen can invest in the project.
And just before we go, sorry, one last question before we go. Do you need to raise more funds?
It's mostly the project finance. So this is the equity. Our First Nations partners will put their equity into the project, and then the rest is regular way project finance debt. And that finance process is underway as we speak as well, but that's relatively, straightforward in a wind financing.
Okay, Trent, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Trent Vichie is the EverWind CEO.